welcome to all the people that are joining us via Facebook feed, all of the podcast listeners. Just want to welcome you. And I think today we just wanted to chat and do what we do normally on the podcast and kind of talk about some things that we're all dealing with as business owners, former business owners, current business owners, whatever you're dealing with. And I think it's probably gone beyond just entrepreneurs and business owners. I think hopefully we can offer some practical thoughts and advice for everybody. What do you guys think?
Absolutely.
Hope so. I mean, the thought here was this is a quickly changing situation and landscape for businesses. And look, we got Bob Strachan joining us. Hey there, Bob.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Hey, Bob.
This is Ken's partner.
Welcome. I didn't send you your link, but I'm glad you got it.
Honestly, I just clicked I got the email because I'm on the podcast. I clicked it and signed in, and here I am. I don't know how that happened.
You're probably logged into our account, so it's great. Okay, great. A welcome guest.
Absolutely.
So I think the thought here is we have a rapidly changing kind of landscape, and we just kind of wanted to do a live version of the podcast and also discuss maybe some things that we're all seeing. I'd like to hear from you guys, what you guys are seeing. I haven't even talked to you in the last 6 or so days. So, but what are we seeing and what are we doing and how can we sort of navigate this, not make rash decisions and actually find the opportunity in all of it, which I think is the key.
Yeah.
Those are all good questions. And boy, I think eventually I'm going to stop being reactive and start being proactive. And I think I'm starting to get there in my mind. I think initially, while things are going down, you're trying to be reactive. And so I think my next week looks like more of a proactive week. All right. Now, what do we do now? How do we prepare for the future? What can we do currently? What can we prepare for that for Q3, Q4? And we know there's going to be some casualties from this, no matter what happens. And so, can this make us better? Absolutely. Can this make your business stronger? Absolutely. But I think we have to be intentional about it. And I think that's the struggle right now is we don't know as agencies, we don't know how to be intentional because right now we're just going day by day. So I think as we unpack stuff, we'd love to hear some of your questions. If anyone has questions, go ahead and post them in the Facebook group, and we'd love to answer your questions too, or at least discuss it. Hopefully our goal with this is to get to help everyone, even ourselves. We don't have all the answers, but we'd love to discuss it and see if there's some things that can be helpful.
Yeah, I think we could probably start off the discussion with talking about specifically, just square one mindset, what people are dealing with, business owners, even creatives, if you're a contractor. Ken, you and I talked about this briefly earlier today. There's this idea of everyone, specifically our clients, wanting to pull back, wanting to put everything on hold. And I think that can carry through to our mindset as well. It's almost like everything's stopped, everything's on hold. I'm supposed to, stay inside, distance myself from everybody. And that can be, I think, a little bit of a dangerous place if you stay there too long. And I think one of the things that we've talked about recently is don't pull back, but actually expand. How can I live within this reality, but at the same time expand and be more creative? Ken, I'm sure you have some thoughts on that.
No, I mean, personally, I think, we're seeing, obviously there are some businesses and certainly people, but we're talking about the business implications of this. There are a lot of businesses that are being directly impacted. Restaurants, retail stores, like those kind of front line of the impact. They have to react quickly and sort of take very massive action. Then as you sort of step back from that, there's sort of ripple effects that I think everybody's feeling. We're feeling that. We can talk about what that looks like in a little while. And I know our clients are feeling that. I have a lot of friends that are business owners that are feeling that. And no matter what you think about the situation and why we got here, we're here. And no one wants to be here. But you can either choose to accept that and the reality of it, and then figure out, okay, how are we going to find the opportunity in it? Or you can retract. And I think that in this type of scenario, you need to stay in the mindset of expansion. Like if you start to retract, then you start to think irrationally. If you start to buy into, the different levels of hysteria that are happening, which there are certainly large levels of hysteria in, just if you walk through the supermarket,
Go out
certainly in business. What's that?
Go out and find toilet paper. Get it.
Yeah, try and find toilet paper. And it's the same in business. I've seen people reacting really irrationally, like laying off tons of people, stopping projects, all that kind of stuff, when their business itself is not being directly impacted. And it's not to say you shouldn't take the right approach, but I think stopping and doing things and sort of asking the question of like, okay, am I just reacting because other people are reacting? Right. Am I just doing things because everyone else is freaking out? And so I'm almost like, should I be freaking out? Everything seems fine, but maybe I should be freaking out too. And so you just pause on it with everything. I think pausing and freezing irrationally can hurt you. And I also think that you lose the potential opportunity in all of this, which again, it's a bad situation, but like there is opportunity that comes from that. And that is, as business owners and as entrepreneurs and as leaders, what you really have to find and get to. And so it starts with mindset, like staying positive, staying healthy, being committed to expanding where you are, not retracting, because I think that's a slow death, unfortunately.
And how are you personally, how are you keeping your mindset positive? How are you not buying into the hysteria and thinking like, instead of preparing for the worst or thinking about the worst, preparing for the future in a positive way?
I mean, me personally, I don't listen to any sources of news at all, or very, very limited. The problem with the news, the media, and all that kind of stuff, again, like it's sort of a hot button, but at the end of the day, like they don't have your best interest in mind. And so you sort of need to decide on sources of information that give you fact or give you opinions that you trust, their intentions, and also their skill level to actually be giving you their opinions, right? Because, it's arguably like most of the people that are giving their opinions on the news, have they ever owned a business? I don't know. I'm guessing a lot of them haven't. There's sort of, so it's questionable the skill level and experience that you're getting the opinion from. And obviously then they're also amplifying it. Yeah. Because that's their job. They need to get a reaction out of people. And I really think it's doing a disservice to everyone. I think it's part of the reason everyone's, the reaction is so bad. But that being said, like I limit that stuff completely. And I do try and find source information that I trust to just get facts. I limit my news intake to like a need to know basis. Yeah. Because ultimately, like, what does it matter if I know if 10,000 people have it or more at the moment? Like, it doesn't necessarily help my decision-making process. And if it doesn't help that right now, all it does is create anxiety and clutters my mind. That's like a big thing. And I think just choosing to say, hey, I'm going to find the good in this and I'm going to be creative in this. And I'm going to figure this out might be the other side of it,
Yeah, I think too, one of the things that that I'm trying to remember daily is this whole kind of the saying when you get on a plane and fly somewhere, they tell you before you take off is, if anything happens, put your mask on first. And, it's kind of counterintuitive, but you can't really be there to take care of the person next to you, your child, your spouse, or your partner, whoever it may be. If you're having trouble breathing, or if you pass out, right? So you put your mask on first. So I think one of the first things that we should really talk about before the practical business stuff is the most important thing, which is making sure you're taking care of yourself and making it a priority every day. I've been talking to so many people, friends, family, business owners, colleagues, former clients. Everybody's struggling right now mentally with this thing on certain different levels. Some people have turned off news altogether because they know that they get depressed and they freak out. They freak out if they consume it. Other people feel like they're trapped inside and they got to get out. Other people feel like, my business is going to fail because all my clients are going to shut down all the projects. So all of that speaks to, making a priority of getting outside if you can, getting fresh air, breathing deeply, stopping, meditation, prayer, whatever works for you, stretch, keep exercising. Otherwise, you won't be able to help others or your business.
Yeah.
And so I think that's square one that's so, so, so important right now for business owners and solopreneurs and whoever you may be, is just make sure you have some sort of routine to put your mask on first every day and throughout the day. Otherwise, you're not going to be any good to those around you, and especially to your business.
That sounds counterintuitive to a lot of people. We've talked about it a lot before, but it's totally true, right? You can't give from an empty vessel or cup or whatever you want to call it. I think that's important. And working at most people are probably working at home right now, right? Most people, I don't know if our audience might be used to working at home, but if you work at home, you have to put into action some specific boundaries and have a lot of intention. Otherwise, you'll do things like never get out of your pajamas, or never go outside, or work for 15 hours a day. Like it starts to, because there's no boundaries set from the outside. Now you have to set them yourself in a way you didn't before. You have to make sure you get active and work out and all these kind of things, eat healthy, all that kind of stuff. And it's harder. And you may not realize it, but after a while of just doing those things and not having those boundaries, it actually takes a giant toll on you as a person.
Yeah. Because you always hear people that say, I work really well at home, or I don't work well at home. And we're all in different situations. Some people have younger children that it's harder to work at home. Some people don't. And it's just how people are built. And so right now, for half of our country probably is struggling working from home. The other half is probably getting a lot done. And it really depends on each individual. So, it's hard because it's been rainy here, right? And I haven't gone outside and exercised. Normally I have a regular exercise routine. Man, I'm gaining 20 pounds just sitting around eating chips all day, worrying about the stock market.
Not good.
Yeah, I know. So, it's it's really, it's one of those things. I think, how do you protect yourself? I think every business owner has to determine for themselves if they get, let's just say come May, right, next month, and they start to get a strong hit, you have to have a strong plan, right? So I think right now what would be good for any business owner is to have a strong plan of some what ifs, not based out of fear, but based out of a clear idea of what you need to do. So for instance, if you get to the point where next month you're not able to hit payroll, are you going to let people off, or are you going to take a personal financial hit yourself and try to maybe even go in debt for a month or 2 or 3 months to pay payroll, just so that you can make sure that your employees are taken care of and their families are taken care of? those are things we might be faced with, right? We might have to make those tough decisions. And so I think having a strong plan and knowing what you're all about, this forces all of us as business owners to say, why am I even in business? Right? Is it just for the money, or is it actually a greater purpose than that? And so I think this helps us to sometimes we get forced to be forced to make these, to think about these things and to make these decisions. And it really tells who you are as a business owner and what you're willing to do. There will be a point, for a lot of businesses, hopefully not one of ours, but that, restaurants and things, they're just forced to have to cut jobs. You just literally have no money to pay those folks. But I think, if we can prepare for our future a little bit, understand that this is just going to be a blip in time, hopefully. Next year, we'll look back at that and we'll say, hey, remember when? I think this can make us stronger. I think this can make us understand who we are as business owners. I think this can give us more purpose as business owners and understand exactly what our role is in society, not just by producing materials, being, having clients, but what is our actual role in society as business owners?
But I love to know from you guys, because I think I totally agree. And so I've worked on, we've put together some sort of just a quick draft plan of some of the what ifs. But ultimately, you mentioned something, Brad. You said that it really questions your why. Totally agree. And that's a good thing, in a good way. Well, you might argue that the businesses that will really start to struggle big and actually end and go out of business, or businesses that may not have had a strong why and maybe a strong reason for getting through the pain. That's not to say it's everybody, but it does start to challenge that area of why you do what you do. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially if you can get through it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's a big part of it, because then when you know that, it's also kind of what helps you market better and grow through this as a business as well. So I think you have to have a plan on the expense side. I don't think freaking out is necessary ever. Honestly, I think in life there are very few circumstances where freaking out helps in any way. Maybe if you were just shot or something like that, if there's an actual emergency, emerging situation where immediate action is necessary. I think sometimes you could argue that's okay, but for most other things, and I would say including this, freaking out is never good, and it never produces great results. But I do think you should look at your expenses and trim. It's a time to trim down. And I do think it's a bit, in the business world, survival of the fittest with that kind of stuff. And so you have to figure out, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Hopefully you've worked to diversify some things, and become a healthy, stable business, because these are the times when that's going to be challenged. But if you haven't, or whether or not you have, trimming down is great, but also planning for, okay, what is the growth plan through this?
Yes.
How do we gain new business? And that's something that I think is important. I know a lot of people are struggling with this. We even grappled with it a bit, is the idea of explicitly selling your products right now. Look, you have to do it. You can't be opportunistic or anything like that. And I think there's a right way to do it. But ultimately, the way the economy works is by money exchanging hands and people selling and people buying.
Yeah.
It's for the better of everybody that you continue to sell. You need to do it in the right ways. You need to be cautious. I actually have an opinion on how, an area of how you sell, which is just through helping and giving and being generous. We're sort of doing that. We can talk more about, that's one of the sort of strategies we put into place, is how do we help people, because we're in a position of maybe more strength than businesses that are really suffering, like retail businesses and restaurants. How do we help people? But ultimately, like, you shouldn't stop selling right now. You should definitely continue to sell.
I saw an interesting commercial last night, and it was by Cadillac. I don't know if you guys had seen it or not. It just came out. They put it together very quickly. But
I haven't been in your new Cadillac.
I don't have a Cadillac, but I saw a commercial, and it was really about during these tough times. The narrative was during these tough times, we're going to make it easier for you. They're expanding interest-free financing. They're delivering the vehicle to you. And the tagline came up in something like, we're all in this together. We'll all get through this together kind of message. And it was the first brand that I've seen put out any messages like that. And I almost feel like that's the message that they need to have, no matter if there is a crisis or not. Like, that's the empathetic message that a lot of brands need to kind of consider moving forward, because it's how can I be the most helpful right now to you? So these brands have to think about that. They need to think about, what can I do right now that is trying to give back? You look at Elon Musk, and he just delivered like 1,200 respirators, oxygen, what are they called? Ventilators.
Yeah.
To California hospitals. He just went on his own and did it and spent his own money, or Tesla's money. But that is a good thing, as well as it's also, it's great PR for them as well. But they're using resources, using, anything you can to help to give back. At the same time, Cadillac needs to sell vehicles, and they have vehicles right now sitting there on the lot, right? Burning cash every day. They're sitting there not being sold. So they have to do something. So it's a win-win. And I think for all of us in our businesses, we can start to get there and go, okay, how do we provide win-wins for our customers? And how do we, at this point, start to give our customers ideas of how to create win-wins? And I think that's the challenge, is that as business owners, and I'm kind of one of these people, I kind of had to kind of step back and go, okay, I need to do assessment. I need to put an oxygen mask on our business, just make sure our business can float through this for many months, to make sure that we come out the other side, make sure we have cash flow, make sure we can pay payroll, blah, blah, blah. But now it's time to say, how can we help our customers get through this? And maybe at this point, there's something that we can do to take advantage of this time that can actually offer people value during this time.
I mean, one way you can also help is, so there's like, you can help explicitly. We launched a program where we're giving free coaching sessions, and as well as we've also reduced all of our educational products for any business that's being affected or impacted by the effects of what's going on here. And that's been really interesting. And that's not like a lead generation tool. That's sort of just, hey, we're good at certain things. If you think you can be helped by that, or we could help you, then we'd love to do that, because we're not being impacted that same way. However, on the other side of it, like, helping can also mean like helping your clients think this way, right? Like, because again, like, for instance, our clients, our main clients are e-commerce, direct-to-consumer brands. And, that's in some way, in a lot of ways, that's sort of like thought to be and is sort of the antidote to some of the struggles that businesses are having, like theoretically, meaning like a strong online channel should really help you right now. So you'd think e-commerce would be going strong, and it is. However, we're also seeing people still gripped by that fear. And while maybe some of our clients' sales are down a little bit because consumer demand is just a little uneasy right now, there's sort of an irrational fear. And so helping them see that, hey, look, it's important that you keep selling, that you keep doing this stuff, that you don't just slow down because there's sort of chaos going on around you.
Yeah.
That's the way I believe we're going to get through on the business side, is by continuing to move the market forward despite the pain and chaos.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. And I think too, what I'm seeing with clients, and I'm sure you guys are too, is that they're all thinking creatively, and they've been thrust into doing what we do as agencies, right? Like they're being forced to have an agency mindset, which is, okay, we've got to get creative. How do we change our messaging? How do we look at the way that we sell and the items we sell and maybe modify those slightly? Since all three of us are involved in the digital marketing side, let's talk a little bit about, so many of our clients are using paid media, online ads, whether it be Google or YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, whatever they're using, programmatic. There's probably, and I've seen this, I'm sure you have too with your clients, there is a temptation to pull back on the advertising and to stop marketing and to kind of assess where, and that may be needed, but more people are online now more than ever before. They have nothing else to do but to sit there and go on their computer, so many people. And so there's a huge opportunity for those clients, those companies, those agencies that do the majority of their work online to be able to think and pivot and tweak their messaging slightly, to not pull back on advertising if they can't afford it, but to actually focus on the current customer lifetime value, being more proactive, et cetera. Have you guys been working through that with your clients and even with your own companies?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, our company isn't made up of fully media buying. Like there are agencies, that's all they do is media buy. And those are the ones that are probably having immediate, challenges because of just cutting media spend. And when you cut a media spend, you instantly just cut the pipeline of revenue to your business. But we are talking about it with our clients and trying to have a short-term and a long-term goal with our media spend, and whether or not we will need to continue marketing a product that they currently can't sell.
Right.
And how far do you do that? Is it just branding, or is it do you move to more of a branding message? Do you move towards a direct response? It really depends on each customer and what they're selling, and if their product is available. If it's an e-com product that's available to purchase, then that might not be you might not want to stop the spend. In fact, you might want to increase the spend because of the amount of people now that are online probably during the day, and they have time on their hands. But if you have a product that somebody just can't go out and get right now, or they can't buy and they can't order through Amazon, then it may be something to look at of how do you just take this time and then move that budget or increase that budget later to make up for it. There's just a lot of I think it's always unique to each customer, to their goals, the client's goals. And again, it's maybe shifting your message and just right now have a different message.
Brad, are you seeing people pull back at all on spend?
Currently, I mean, like our own clients?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. So there's some of our clients have had to cut different things that they were doing. For instance, we market some events all over the world events that they had to cancel. So when they cancel those events, then all of the marketing and advertising around that event is canceled. And we don't know if they're going to be postponed or if they're going to be able to, probably not. Right. In the short term, be able to go overseas and have events in Italy and Europe and other places. So for us, that might be an area where we lose revenue. And we will lose some revenue in that area. The goal is to try to continue to, obviously cut where we have to cut just because of things being completely cut. Events is a big one. Anybody that's in an event business is, probably has been hammered last month. So again, I think every business is different, and thank goodness for us, this is where our diversity of clients is helpful for us, because not every single client's in the same stage, right? We're not specifically in one lane industry where that industry is crashed and we have nothing, and all of our clients are in the same situation. All of our clients are in different situations right now. And what I am most thoughtful of is right now, personally for us, we're not feeling it that much, but I'm concerned about May, June, July, and third quarter, even fourth quarter, because of what we do now in marketing. And as marketing and advertising, the stuff that we're working on now probably won't be launched for 2 or 3 months, right?
Yeah.
And so that's when we'll feel the impact. I think in overall in this industry, I think we're going to feel the brunt of the impact in probably 3 months.
A good segue. We've got a question come through. Kyle says, now seems like a good time strategically to up our own marketing as a content production firm. However, also worried about keeping cash in the bank. Thoughts?
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, on our side, we do a lot of content. And I think financial stability is the most important thing. I definitely think so. So I don't know how much cash is actually in the bank and how far that gets you. But I don't think it takes necessarily a lot of cash to invest it into marketing. For us, we're actually seeing, we do a lot of content production, and we're actually seeing that the Facebook inventory is up. That's the consensus across like a lot of sort of different groups that we're a part of, and what we see.
By the way, he said he had a 5-month safety net.
Oh, okay. Well, I would say I can't imagine it would cost that much as a percentage of that to invest into content. We're investing into content, and in general, like I think that we're seeing consumption of that content up right now, and we're also seeing ad costs down. What we're seeing is a slow roll on taking action and actually buying, but I would say, before I get into that, just from our experience, content, we're going hard on it right now because people are consuming, people need content, the right type of content. Good content that educates them, that helps them, and that kind of stuff. That's what we're seeing. And so we're doing a lot of that. We already do a lot of that. And then we're also scaling up our advertising because costs that we're seeing are down. Inventory on Facebook and those kind of things are up. And in general, we see this as probably the best opportunity to generate leads or future leads, and to gain market share and brand equity. And so it's probably a long-term play or a 2-3 month play, but I don't see a downside to it because I don't think it costs that much. So that's what we're doing. In fact, and we have, things like, I'll just add, we have things like, we have books that we sell. We also have some free pieces of content and those kind of things. The conversion rate on those things are up. In fact, several days last week, our conversion rate was 100% for some of our downloads, which they're typically pretty high. They're usually in the 80s, but, they're rarely, if ever, I've never seen 100%. And so I thought that was really interesting. Like, people seem to be taking action. I'm sure people are kind of scared and uncertain. If you can give them certainty in some way, then they're going to take action on that right now. So,
yeah, and I think too, tweaking our messaging slightly to not be opportunistic, but to speak very clearly and authentically to the questions that people are asking. And those questions have changed slightly, I think, in the past few weeks. I think, questions like things they're concerned about, things that they have opportunities to hone their skills and to explore and to research new opportunities, maybe for their business or for themselves, that they haven't had time to do. Learning new skills, training, those are all areas where people have time to do it. And it's always been on their to-do list, but they haven't had the time. Well, now they do have the time. And so if you operate in any of those markets, whether it be training or new products or new innovative marketing tools that can help businesses, now's the time to really push those, I think. and to present them in ways in messaging and communication in the way that people are thinking right now.
Yeah. We're also, another idea is recycling things that you're good at that you don't typically sell. Again, this is not necessarily something I would say we do, or I think most businesses should do when times are really good. But right now, you can, like, for example, like we and probably most of our audience works remote or is well versed in working remote and doing remote work with tools and those kind of things. Lately, we've been getting I've been personally getting a lot of questions from people, from business owners, small business owners, and even like just people that are working from home about certain tools or certain ways that we work remote and, processes that we follow and those kind of things, to where that's some content that we're starting to put out that we normally wouldn't put out, and we normally wouldn't sell, but maybe we will start to do something in that way. Right now we're not selling it, but we could. So I think thinking about like things that you do every day that might be useful that you may not normally sell, that might also be opportunities to sort of help people and generate some connections.
Yeah.
We have a question about not specifically about finances, about what you're doing in marketing, but basically we have a question about how much money do you think an agency needs to have to get through this to run the company? And where do you find sources of cash flow? Where do you find sources to make sure you have cash on your balance sheet? I think, those are some questions that every owner right now is trying to prepare for. They're looking at their cash flow and what ifs, right? What if a client gets in a situation where they're delaying their payments by 60 days, 90 days? How do I survive that? And I think those are all really strong questions. And for us as a business, I think it's always good to have a line of credit. If you don't have a line of credit, maybe even talk to one about a bank. But the SBA has a disaster relief fund that they've just announced. And we can put a link actually in the Facebook group to it where you can apply for it. And they're going to be offering very, very low business loans for small businesses to help small businesses get over their hurdles. And the reality is every company has to look at, what their next 6 months looks like as far as their accounts receivables, and to try to understand some what ifs, right? If you have a customer that is getting hit really hard right now, you might want to put that future accounts receivables that are already contracted out, but that might be 3-4 months down the road. You might want to actually look at that and go, okay, there's this concern that our customer may not be able to pay their bills. And then what ifs? And so every business themselves has to be thoughtful of those things, planned out, have a few what if scenarios. And we're all in this together. It's not like this is one business situation. All businesses are going to be dealing with this. There is a bill that's hopefully being passed right now as we speak that will allow some things to help give companies some cash flow. And one of them is that there's going to be a payroll holiday. They're talking about till the end of the year. I don't know if it's going to be passed till the end of the year, but at least what it will do is reduce a lot of the payroll taxes so that
it was the whole payroll.
Yeah, so your payroll won't actually get hit. They're not
going to pay the whole payroll?
Well, no, you got to pay the whole payroll, but the tax portion of it. And so what that'll do is your payroll will be a little less, right? Because you're not paying the taxes. That will give money back in the pockets of your employees, but also give money back to the employers and give us some more cash to be able to survive this. So, there are some things coming up, and hopefully there are small businesses. And again, small businesses is a business, maybe under 1,000 employees. So
yeah,
there are some things that are coming up that I think that will help us get through this time. Hopefully we answer this question.
Brad, I don't know what you think, but I think those things are really good, right? And ultimately, and I've paid a lot of expensive lessons. And so, hey, cash in the bank is important. loans are good. Use them wisely, I would say, right? And really get creative about projecting things. But ultimately, you know, if this might also be a lesson that if you're not, if you're not doing electronic payments, which I talk about a lot and we discuss a lot, or if your accounts receivable is really big and really delayed, this might be a lesson in that, so that after all this, that you maybe should be starting to do that, because these are the times when that matters a lot. And we could have never predicted this. I was talking with someone just last week, and I'm like, when I was thinking about the problems that could have happened in 2020 or some of the events, this was not, I mean, I would have never imagined this. Yet it's happening. And also the other thing is that you should have a sort of a stable financial backing and, in your business. And so someone mentioned 5 months. I mean, I think actually on average, that's really great. I don't think a lot of businesses have that. At least the ones I talk to.
I mean, see that.
Our goal is 1 year. Yeah. What was that?
I mean, you can see during this time right now, you can see how fragile companies are, businesses are, especially small businesses. We can't hardly even go a week without being in business, especially like the restaurant business and things, without starting to lay people off and fire people.
I mean, it's been 9 days. Yeah, it's crazy.
I know. So it gives me pause to go, we are really not really, we're never preparing ourselves well. Like, we should be stronger than this, you think, as businesses. This is a philosophical discussion, but I think as businesses, if we run, they say that, like, what is it? 60% of Americans live almost paycheck to paycheck, right? And so I think that's the challenge, is that if 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, one paycheck removed and you're in a world of hurt. And I think that we should be more wise in that, and to not save for a rainy day, but we should protect ourselves and not think about what I can buy, right, in my own household. But a lot of those people treat their businesses the same way. And I'm not saying that these businesses are hurting because of that, but the reality is that even for our business, I realize, wow, man, just 1 month can make a big impact on our business. And the good news is that, currently right now we're, I agree with you. You should have at least a year out, right, where you're able to survive a year out. But I don't think any business can survive a year out without losing some expenses and cutting some roles in that job. I mean, it's constantly a refinement.
Yeah, I mean, if you go a year with no revenue, then that's unlikely, probably, right?
Otherwise, you're putting yourself in a huge amount of debt that you probably can never make up.
But totally. But it gives you the confidence to move through things, right, knowing that. And I think that we started with mindset, and that's a big part of this, is like having that confidence in that knowing that you're diversified enough to where you're not just going to get taken out by any one thing, gives you confidence to act, especially when, I mentioned Tony Robbins a lot. He says wealth is created in winter. I don't know if he coined that or not, but that's what he says all the time. And it's true, but you have to be able to be strong enough to act, because when things are breaking apart, when things are being shaken up, that's really the time that you have opportunity. I'm not saying you should be opportunistic, but you have the opportunity to grow and to create things that when people are not able to, and you should be preparing for that, I think.
I think it's also an opportunity to create some really strong, if not lifelong, relationships through the content and kind of posture that you as a business owner are putting out there. When this is all said and done, the people that are going to be remembered, the relationships, the touches that you make with your clients and potential clients are going to be those that not only were authentic and very human, but also gave people a sense of certainty and security, because right now the world is very uncertain and insecure and people are scared. And if you can provide that type of content in a very healthy way, like you said, Ken, without being opportunistic, that's going to create a lifelong connection with people, because it makes you stand out, and that's what they will remember about this time. And you had mentioned a really good example is Dave Asbury with Bulletproof. One of the things he did is he went through and talked about and did a whole show on the details and the science behind this virus and what's going on. And so for him, that type of content is invaluable, because he became a source of security, of certainty, of trusted, hey, here's the science, here's the details, here's everything you want to know about coronavirus, here's how to avoid it, here's the truths, here's the things, here's the science, here's the documentation. And if you can find opportunities like that as an agency, as a solopreneur, as a contractor, consultant, whoever you may be, to be looking for those opportunities, doesn't have to be around the virus, but it could be around other things like, what you're really good at, your marketing. Maybe you specialize in Facebook and social media, and, maybe you're in the automotive space. Whatever it may be is providing a real calm sense of security and certainty in these times. That type of content, I think, will go a long way, and those clients and customers will remember you when this is all over.
Yeah, I think that's a great example. I was reading his stuff, and obviously they sell supplements and things that support his way of thinking. But it's content that's really useful, and he's then selling what he has, not being opportunistic. He's selling. He's saying, hey, this stuff actually helps you. And that's a really natural way of doing it.
Yeah, I think another example would be if your clients or customers are getting nervous about their ad spend, maybe now's the time to dig in deeper and helping educate them and others about, really measuring and attributing lifetime value of customers, what that looks like, how it's measured, how you can provide those services and provide a better long-term, return on ad spend, those type of things. Because right now, all businesses are seeing is money going out for ads that they've heard. The customers are holding money in their pockets because they're scared. And that, while that might be true on one level, there's also there's always another side to that.
I would love to know what you guys think about this. Like, I don't think that, obviously there's the consumer base is unsettled. They're focused on being healthy and all the things that are creating anxiety in our world right now. And so we don't find them making purchases as frequently and quickly. But from the marketing side, we see ads doing a lot better. We just don't see purchases happening as frequency. So that's an interesting thing. But people normalize, regardless of what happens. So whether or not we're home for who knows how long, whether or not people are locked in for however long, like, things will normalize. People will get into a state of a new normal, and that will start to flow again. And so I think that's true with, what we're seeing, for instance, our sales pipeline right now. Most people are, again, uncertain and sort of freezing. And we can talk through that. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that, because it's an interesting discussion. I imagine most people on here, I don't know if you guys are listening, whoever's listening, like, if you have prospects that you were talking to before this, projects that were in the pipeline that you were discussing, what has happened? I'll be really curious to know, like, what has happened in the last 5 days of discussing it with them. Yeah. For us, a lot of people have slowed down, and there's not even really a rational reason for it. However, I don't believe that people can't stay in a state of flux and irrationality for weeks and weeks and weeks, even if the circumstances don't change. So there's going to be a new normal that people settle into. And I think at that point, you start seeing some of these stoppages sort of begin to flow again. I don't know what you guys are seeing or if you agree with that, but that's kind of what we're seeing right now.
Yeah. Well, for us, I think it's, the projects that we have and clients that we have projects with that we're moving forward, as long as it's not around an event or something that was totally canceled, where the product is no longer available. And they're still moving forward, very hopeful, very optimistic that this is just a short-term blip. But as far as new business and things that in our pipeline, I mean, everyone has probably just taken a stop just to kind of before they, they haven't, they're not ready to make a decision yet, because I think it's still unheard of. But I think there will be a new normal, and I think it's right now. It feels like it's week by week. Like even my sentiment this last week is different than this week. Like all of a sudden on Monday, I got a new charge, new energy, right? I felt more like I'm in a rhythm now of like a new normal. And I'm getting used to that new normal where I'm able to function in that new normal pretty well. But last week it was kind of like, still putting out fires, right? And still kind of going, okay, what is going on? And so I think as we get into a new normal, right, which could take us 2 or 3 weeks, have some insight as this continues to grow, we're learning more. And I think we're all getting used to going, okay, eventually we're going to have to get back to work. We don't know when that is. Right now the president's saying Easter. That might be the reality for certain areas of the country. Obviously other areas probably won't see that. But and so what is our new normal? Trying to work within that, trying to get a grasp of what's going on, trying to feel like you have some clarity and connection to what's going on. People no longer working virtually like this through video is a new thing for a lot of people. Some people don't work well with this kind of way. They want to be in a group with people and talking to people, and every business is completely different. And so I think for us right now, I think that is going to be our challenge. Is right now, if we're taking 2 months off and we're not able to get new business, that new business could affect third quarter, fourth quarter, right? And so then what will it be then? Now, the good news is if you look at history and you look at these kind of things that happen in our societies where you could consider this a recession, right, to a point where we're being pinched, typically once something like this is relieved and we go back, you look at wars that we fought, you look at any type of thing, financial recessions, there's been a strong upkeep. People are excited to get back to work. There's a strong excitement. Right. There's a can-do attitude. We can do anything we need to do to fight anything that comes our way. And that is what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to that. That's a very celebrative. And it might be only a month away from now, which is really cool. So I
think it's sooner than that.
Yeah, this could get everyone excited about doing business and doing more business and getting things going and make up for the lost time. And so we might find that as an industry, marketing and advertising and digital agencies, we might find that actually come June, we might be doing better than it might be our best month, even better than last year, right? So
I think that's totally possible. I think you have to be intentional about it and plan for it.
Yes.
And sort of do your best or do your part in manufacturing and creating that end result. But human nature isn't such that, generally people are not going to sit at home doing nothing, scared for very long, right? That'll happen for a period of time. We're still in that extremely early period of time. And then the new normal kind of sets in, whether or not any of the, restrictions are lifted, I believe. Yep. Even you see, it's been so cool to see like restaurants around here are just adapting, and I'm sure, and I know their revenue's down. I know they're not doing as well, but like they're not just closing doors. They're getting online ordering going and delivering things and curb pickup. And, there's a steakhouse around here that we go to every once in a while, and you can order. They're sort of like they've almost turned themselves into a butcher. Like you can order steaks and other things and go pick them up. So they're adapting and they're getting creative. And I think that's really cool to watch. And I think that's what we have to do as businesses. And I think the ones that don't do that are the ones that probably will fail or be severely hurt. And that's probably not a bad thing, ultimately.
I think that's really cool.
But there is, there is an opportunity in this. I think everyone needs to be focused on that. And I know, Kyle, I think Kyle mentioned something about, I was asking people about if they'd seen what their pipeline looked like. We're seeing exactly what he mentioned, and not really, we haven't seen any cancellations or anything like that. And we don't see any reason for that, but we're seeing people sort of pump the brakes on starting new things. I think that's not a bad thing. But my opinion, I don't know what you guys think. My opinion is it's your job. It's our job to continue to help them make the right decision. So again, if they're in a really tough spot and what you're doing and their business is hurting and they shouldn't be spending on a new production or a new project or whatever, then it's probably best to help them pause and then help them get through that and get back to them. But I think for a lot of businesses, the right thing is probably helping them make the right decision, which is moving forward in the right way. And that's not a hard sell because no one wants that. And that's really insensitive. But if you're if you kind of believe in what you do and believe in the results it will create, then I think that helping them make the right decision, which may mean moving forward with that project, just in sensitive and maybe different ways, is how we're approaching it.
That's good. That's good. I think too, one of the things that I keep seeing over and over, and what I'm hearing through this conversation, that, as we're kind of winding down toward the end here, is if business owners and entrepreneurs and even some of our clients, they need to know and need to keep hearing that they're not alone. We're all in this together. And as agency owners or solopreneurs, we need to offer creative thinking to our clients that are going through this. We need to offer, hey, do you want to just get on the phone and talk through some ideas and thoughts? That's what they've paid us for in the past. And this is where I think as agency owners and creatives, we can really shine to be able to say, hey, let's do a call. I've had some thoughts on how we can pivot. Like you said, Ken and even Brad, you both mentioned, thinking differently about your business. Offering services, helping your clients sell things that they haven't thought about, i.e., the steakhouse that now becomes a butcher. Well, they've got steaks and they get meat regularly, and people aren't coming in to eat it at a table. Well, then why not offer it and sell it to the same people who want to come and pick it up and cook it at home? Stuff like that we can help our clients and our businesses think through things. Now's the time to really shine, let them know they're not alone, and just be a catalyst for thinking differently and creatively. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah. Well, and I think also with that mindset, you're no longer bringing a problem to your client, because your customer may feel like your agency is really hurting. And so the deal is that, by being supportive, almost the clients I've talked to, there's a sense of worry, especially the larger clients that have larger organizations. They're worried about where their company's going to be. They don't even have transparency within their own business sometimes. They're just maybe a marketing manager doesn't have clear transparency of where their business is going in the next 2 or 3 months, because they don't have clear financial transparency within the organization. So, as agency owners and as solopreneurs, we can come alongside our clients and support them, right? And say, hey, you have a support system right here for you. We're going to bring ideas to the table. And even if those ideas aren't not sold, and even if they don't implement those ideas, what it does is you're part of the solution. And that's what we want to be. We want to be part of their solution, not something that says, hey, are you guys paying your bills? Are you guys going to be able to pay your bills? And that's one thing that I think as business owners, my first instinct was just take care of us and try to figure out, are we going to be able to support this business for the next 6 months and then support our clients? And now it's time for us to really go in and say, okay, now how do we redefine your business? Your business changed overnight. The way that you're going to do business is going to change overnight. Now let us help you figure out how to change your business so that you can actually now work differently in this environment. And so I think that's what makes your clients look like superstars. It gives them confidence in you, and it builds a lasting relationship. So right now, I think we all have an opportunity to build these lasting relationships because we step up to bat with our clients and we give them ideas and solutions.
That's good.
That's good, guys. Thank you for coming and hanging out. I know you guys are both busy, as we all are, working on things and trying to adapt to the new normal. But
any last questions from our any last questions out there?
I think Kyle said again that now is a great time for brands to be investing into giving back to their consumers through content. Great example is Yeti releasing their films early during this time so their brand fans can have some content to escape into. That's great. Great. And I think we touched on this earlier, is content, especially helpful content.
And content that gets some consumers' mind off the problem too. I think that's part of it, that's huge. Yeah. I would say, this was fun, and maybe we can do more of these. And if there's any ideas or questions or comments that come up after this, like from this group or the people that watch this later, I'd love to know what's going on. It's a constantly changing environment. But I think the way to get through
the podcast if you're not listening as well. And also private Facebook group too. You can just search it up on Facebook, Agency Exposed Facebook group.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining on this call. And until next time.
See you later.
See ya.